Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is August 26, 2025, and Hansi Flick has won Coach of the Year. Also, Hector Fort will have to decide his next destination. And finally, Chelsea have made an offer for Fermin Lopez. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and welcome to another news video that I'm doing live tonight. This is not a podcast. This is simply a late video. I worked very long hours tonight. I just finished. And of course, since it's so late, I could not film, edit, and post. So instead, I'm doing a video live. So since it's not a podcast, I will not be reading the comments live. That's for tomorrow. Tomorrow, Wednesday, is podcast day. That's when I read the comments. Right now, this is just to bring you the latest news in regards to our beloved club, FC Barcelona. And let's begin with the great news that Hansi Flick, ladies and gentlemen, has won Coach of the Year at the 2025 Sport Bild Gala. Now, Bild is probably the biggest sports outlet in Germany, and they have honored Flick by giving him the award for Best Coach of 2025. Now, you might say, Mo, what about Luis Enrique? He won the treble. He won the Champions League. Why is he not Coach of the Year? Honestly, I believe that Flick should also win Coach of the Year at the Ballon d'Or ceremony, and because for several reasons. The first one is Hansi Flick has transformed Barcelona in such short period of time. You know, he arrived at a Barcelona that had just finished a season completely trophyless, and he turned them into a championship winning team, where Luis Enrique, last season, it was his second season. And not just that, he didn't have to transform PSG. I mean, sure, PSG hadn't won the Champions League ever, but they were a winning team when Luis Enrique arrived. And again, it was his second season, where Flick, it was his first season, and Barcelona were in absolute shambles. The second thing, Luis Enrique won the league and the cup in a league where, let's be honest, PSG win it every year, and it's pretty much a given. I mean, before the season begins, PSG have already won their league, versus winning La Liga and la Copa del Rey, much more difficult tasks. Third reason, PSG, unlimited funds. They can sign whoever the hell they want. All Luis Enrique has to do is say, I want this guy, and PSG will go out and get him. Barcelona, Flick had to work with what he had, because we couldn't even register the players that we do end up signing. So for those many reasons, I do believe that Flick should win and deserves to win Coach of the Year. But nonetheless, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the statements that Flick did at this gala. It started with how he credited his success to his staff when the Barcelona coach said the following: I'm very convinced of what I can do. You have a technical team that always supports you. As a head coach, you're on the front line. They criticize you, but they also praise you accordingly. These are the things that happen, but you have a coaching staff around you that does an excellent job. I have it here in Barcelona. It's just a lot of fun to work with them. So Flick saying, hey, as a coach, I'm on the front line. You know, people might criticize me, but also when I succeed, people praise me. But what they don't realize is that there's a whole staff behind me helping me achieve these things. So Flick, you know, crediting his staff for the excellent work that he's been able to do at Barcelona. Now, the second statement I want to review with you, and this is very, very interesting statements. It was about Joan Garcia and Mark ter Stegen. And this is what Hansi Flick had to say. Now we have a very young and talented goalkeeper like Joan Garcia, who is at a very, very high level. We all decided together that he had to be the future of Barca. So for me, our approach was clear. Was everything good in terms of communication? I think there's a lot to improve. Also on my part, again, was everything good in terms of communication? I think there's a lot to improve. Focus on this sentence, because we're going to talk about it in a little bit. For me, it's important that Mark and the club have gotten closer to each other and that they're sought the right communication. For me, it's important that Mark returns. He's a top-level goalkeeper, and he has our full support, so he can return to playing at his best. What can I promise him in terms of playing time? No, I don't make any promises. Now, I highlight these statements because, remember, many of you said I was crazy. Why would I say that the club need to communicate with Mark ter Stegen. The club don't owe Mark ter Stegen anything. They don't owe him a conversation. They shouldn't ask for his permission. And lo and behold, the day the club decided to talk to ter Stegen, what happened? All problems were resolved, and ter Stegen signed the paperwork, and Barcelona were able to register Joan Garcia in his place. And now Flick doing what he does best, which is self-criticism, admitting when a mistake was done and saying, hey, this should have been done better. And Flick saying, hey, this should have been done better. The club should have communicated with ter Stegen, but they didn't. But no, Mo, you're that crazy one. How dare you suggest that two people who are at an impasse should communicate? Oh my goodness, what a radical idea. Now, Flick also saying that he wants ter Stegen to come back from his injury because he is a top goalkeeper. He is. As much as you guys want to pretend he's, ter statue, blah, 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 he is a top goalkeeper. And Flick saying, he cannot promise him minutes. And of course, that's the right thing because nobody should be promised minutes. Minutes are earned, not promised. Now, the final statement that I want to review is when Flick talked about Lamine Yamal because he had full praise of that 18-year-old starlet, saying Lamine is an absolute genius, especially at his age. At 18, he decides the games by himself. Just like Arda Güler. Remember? Arda Güler, better than Lamine. That's what Madridistas told us. And now it's Mastantuono. But anyways, he's on the right track. He's also very smart. But of course, he is still very young at 18. And he has to learn from others. We support it. I'm convinced that he will be one of the best players the world of football has ever seen. So Flick convinced that Lamine will become one of the best that the world of football has ever seen because at 18, he's already the best player right now currently in the world. At 18, he can decide matches all by himself, and he's not even close to entering his prime. He's not even close to giving us the best version of himself. And if he is not even close to that, and he's already impressing all of us, you can only begin to imagine what Lamine is going to be like once he does enter his prime, once he's done developing physically. He's not even fully developed physically. He's still now he's 18, he's technically an adult, but he's not even fully developed as an adult. I mean, that's absolute insanity. But anyways, on to the next bit of news because we do have to talk about Hector Fort because, ladies and gentlemen, the Barcelona right back will have to decide where to go. Now, Hector Fort currently has a lot of interest in him, including Como in Italy, Mallorca in La Liga, Everton in the Premier League, and now the latest club to join the race for Hector Fort is West Ham out of the Premier League as well, where West Ham have been doing kind of the biggest push for the player, contacting him and contacting the club to try to convince the player to join them and, of course, convince Barcelona to allow him to join them. Now, of course, Barcelona's plan is to offload Hector Fort. However, the plan is on loan. Now, even though Deco has been trying to offload players while maintaining, a percentage of their future and a buyback clause in case they do end up living up to their potential, in the case of Hector Fort, Deco really believes in the potential of the player and believes that he just needs some minutes for him to, fully reach that potential. So in the case of Hector Fort, even though it would be a lot more beneficial to transfer him on a permanent basis, because then you can use his transfer fee plus his salary to register someone else, Deco still prefers to only send out Hector Fort on loan so he can play a full season and hopefully reach his full potential by next season. But of course, the ball is in the player's court. Hector Fort will have to decide on A, whether he wants to leave or not, and B, if he does, he's going to have to decide where because there's plenty of interest in the academy player. Now, Barcelona might be able to register Rooney Bardghji in the place of Hector Fort. Well, of course, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, speaking of players leaving, ladies and gentlemen, Chelsea have made a late offer for Fermin Lopez. Now, the Premier League club have contacted Fermin Lopez on several occasions all throughout the summer transfer market to see if he's interested in joining them. Every time the player has said, no, I am not interested. But now, with Fermin, with the season that have begun and Fermin not getting perhaps, a starting role, even though he did start against Mallorca, but he was subbed out at the halftime. And then in the match against Levante, he didn't get minutes. Now Chelsea are saying, hey, F it, let's try it again. So now Chelsea have once again made a bid for Fermin. They're offering Barcelona 50 million euros for the midfielder, and they're offering the player 3 times his current salary. So they're definitely looking to convince Barcelona and Fermin to part ways. Now, Barcelona are not looking to sell Fermin Lopez because Flick wants to count on him. But of course, they're leaving it up in the hands of Fermin Lopez. And Chelsea and the club have given Fermin 48 hours to decide. So he has 40 hours to decide, hey, I want to stay. If he decides to stay, Barcelona will be like, all right, welcome. Flick wants you. But if Fermin decides to leave, it's reported that Barcelona would then negotiate with Chelsea a higher fee because they believe that Fermin is worth more than 50 million euros. Now, if Fermin does decide to end up leaving and Barcelona end up agreeing on a higher transfer fee, right, Chelsea agrees to pay it, Barcelona will not sign another midfielder, and instead, the one who will take his place on the first team would be Dro. So, no planned signings if Fermin leaves. He will simply be replaced by the other academy player, Dro. Now, speaking of academy players, we will end today's video with the news that the Saudis have inquired about Alex Medo. If you don't know who Alex Medo is, he's a 19-year-old defender currently playing for Barca Athletic. He's a versatile defender, can play both as a center back and is a right back, a promising defender currently at Barca Athletic. And it's reported that Al Hilal have inquired about obtaining the services of Alex Medo, whose contract expires in 2027. So far, there is no answer from the player, but if he decides to leave, as you know, many of the academy players have low release clauses, so it would not be a problem for Al Hilal to activate that release clause. But for now, Alex Medo has not decided on whether he will be, interested in going to Al Hilal or not. Hopefully not. He is a promising center back, and even if he has no space on the first team, I would hate to see a young player with a bright future, waste his career going to a league like Saudi or any other, it could be the MLS or Japanese league or Korean league. This is not to bash Saudi league, but, let's be honest. It is an inferior league. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. I did do another video a few moments ago. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to check it out. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, Visca Barça.